If you want to see your name at the beginning of all of our videos, as well as see exclusive content here on the homestead, please feel free to join our Patreon. Memberships start off at just $1 a month. And as always, thank you for your support. This is Sienna. Sienna is a 5-month-old mini Rex and a caster that I held back from a previous litter. Sienna is out of Sadie and Strawberry, and because of that, Sienna has amazing fur type. The problem with Sienna is that her high point is too far forward, which throws off her loin from a side view profile, throwing off the overall balance of her look. And then from a hind profile, when you stack her up, she's pinched in that hind quarter and she's hollow in through that loin. She got hip dips. So because of that, we won't be using her for the breeding program. But something I absolutely love about this line in general out of Sadie is their faces. They have a very soft, balanced face. They have beautiful face to ear ratios with the classic dwarf head. Unfortunately, Sienna doesn't really fit into our breeding program. There can be quite a few reasons why I keep an animal in our breeding program and then decide much later down the road that I don't actually like them. An example of this could technically be Wiley. Wiley, up until he was about 7-8 months old, was getting us placed on the table. And it wasn't until he reached a senior age that I pulled him and decided that he wasn't going to be a show animal anymore. Because of his fur, I won't put him on a show table again. And if his type weren't so gosh darn good, I would have culled him a long time ago. This chunker butt's almost a year old, and it's about time for him to start being used as a breeding buck. But by the end of it, I might decide I don't like him or what he's producing. But I've done this with does as well. I can keep something in the breeding program probably for longer than I should, just to verify whether I don't like them or not. So in the case of Sienna, I was growing her out and her sister out to see which I preferred. They both had very different problems, and it was just me weighing out as they got older whether or not I wanted to keep one problem over the other to improve our lines. Because when you don't have perfect animals, it's kind of a risk-reward. Do you want to reward the high point of an animal but risk them being pinched and passing that down? Or do you want something that has a really nice hindquarter as flat overall? If Sienna wasn't pinched in the hindquarter like she was, I might risk putting a litter on her and seeing if she produces a litter that was better. But with how pinched her hindquarters is, it really isn't worth moving forward. With that being said, the pinch didn't look as bad as it did as she got older. It's kind of the same idea with Lemon. He had a long shoulder when he was a baby, but I didn't expect it to grow out as long as it did. Sometimes something just goes through the teenage uglies and it just remains ugly, which absolutely sucks. But sometimes they're ugly and they produce beautiful kits. And I'm hoping that's the case with Wiley here. I'm gonna breed him to something with way better fur type and hope that they retain his body shape. Because he is an absolutely gorgeous buck when it comes to body type. Sure, I got you. Here's one of our Californians with a pretty decent commercial body type and an okay shoulder. It's good in that even though there is a shoulder there, it's nicely filled out and it's not long. And here is Lemon, who has a very, very long shoulder that's not filled in over a long body. Here is Lemon from a top view profile, and from a top view profile, he actually has an okay shoulder. You want a nice wide shoulder along the top line, and if you can get it almost equivalent to your hindquarter and that roundness, that's what you want. Compared to this baby right here, as you see, it comes into a triangle and it's very pinched up in that shoulder to where it's very small. So not only would this animal have a shoulder, they would also have it to where they have a very lean, a very narrow shoulder. We want a wide shoulder from a top view. It has been very cold up here for the past week or so, but Emma's babies are getting along just fine. They are starting to open their eyes. Because it's winter, I'll keep the nest box in the nest for a little longer than I would in the summer, just to give them a chance to kind of thermoregulate. Normally they're good at that at around 3 weeks. So with how cold it's been, I want them to just take their time. My favorite baby in the litter right now is the Amber, who is hiding at the very bottom of the pile. They are fat, they are chunky, I absolutely adore them. We have this little broken black otter who is just kind of chilling. But I also like the broken chocolates that are at the bottom as well. But everyone's doing fantastic. Mom is feeding everyone. We have nice full bellies. Not too bad for the very first litter of winter. With Emma's litter now at the age of 10 days old, we want to start looking for open eyes. But more than that, we want to start paying attention to make sure that nobody has nest box eye. Nest box eye means that the baby has some kind of infection over the eye. It gets crusty, it's closed together, and if it goes untreated, it can cause moon eye or loss of vision. In order to clean nest box eye, you want to take a warm, damp rag and move the crusties away softly. But if it's more advanced, you want to look at getting some kind of medicated eye drops or eye ointments. Thankfully, this litter doesn't have any of those problems so far, and everyone has their eyes nice and open. I also think it's really funny to watch Emma feed her babies because she just looks so sick of it. But also at 10 days, we really want to start watching growth rates to make sure everyone is growing fast and evenly through the litter. And if need be, give extra feedings to the runts from mom. I clean my quail pens out about once a week, but it is that time of year where when I do go to clean, it looks like there's just been an absolute murder in the coop. And that is because it is molting season and everyone is letting feathers fly. We keep supplemental lights on these guys, so they do continue laying throughout the winter, but we do have it right now to where we are at 20% of laying capacity. So if we normally would get 100 eggs, we're only getting 20 eggs. Thankfully, because of the supplementary light, that doesn't last for very long, but it is no fun during molting season because it really does drive up my anxiety because, again, it looks like there is a murder that happened here with all the feathers. So I'm going to get this pen cleaned up and I'm going to get these guys some food. When it comes to babies that are starting to open their eyes and explore the nest box more, we want to make sure that we have a constant supply of hay in the box. Also, Emma is chewing on my sleeve right now because my arms are in the cage and apparently I'm not giving her enough attention. Anyways, the reason we want to put hay in the nest box at this age is the babies are going to start eating it. They're going to start transitioning on mom's milk to solid food here within the upcoming weeks. And the more chance they have to eat things like hay or pellets or oats within the nest box, little bits at a time, the easier it's going to be for them to transfer on to a solid food without the risk of weaning enteritis and GI stasis. Giving them this opportunity of hay gives less issues for our kids as they get older. And then, of course, here's Miss Emma, who just wants all of the attention. So I personally enjoy Mana Pro for feeding my rabbits. For our 16% right now, I am trying the Mana Pro Pro, which isn't my favorite formula out of all of the Mana Pros, but it is the best 16% feed that we have in the area. And for my other Mana Pro being the 18%, I use the Mana Pro Grow, which is specifically formulated for milking does and growing kits. And the reason we switch to a 16% feed when our rabbits get to a certain age is just that they don't need an 18% protein anymore at that age. It's just a bit too much protein for them when we are just trying to maintain our animals' weights. And then also with the 18% that we do feed, there are extra vitamins and minerals that aren't formulated necessarily for every single adult. It's more focusing on the lactating doe. So it wouldn't make sense for me to feed that formula to, let's say, a buck. Plus, there's a price difference between the Pro and the Grow of about $3 per bag, so we can also look at it from a monetary standpoint as well. So in summary, it's just not the right formula, and it's just a bit too much protein for maintaining weight. When people get started raising rabbits, they really worry about how little the babies nurse on mom, which I can totally understand why that would be kind of freaky, because most people are used to kittens and puppies that are nursing every couple of hours. With rabbits, on average, they only nurse 1 to 3 times a day. That safe spot's normally around 2 times a day, being dawn and dusk time frame. So if you're shelving kits, you only need to bring them out to mom once or twice a day. And again, that can be kind of scary. With that being said, when you are nursing babies on mom, or you're worried that mom isn't giving them the proper amount of milk, what you really need to do is weigh your babies. Are they gaining weight and having a gradual uphill gain? You also want to make sure that they have full milk tummies and that they're not appearing lethargic and wrinkly. So you're not going to see this as often as you would see with cats and dogs. I have barn hair, but when it comes to like this question right here, I don't really know where I should take it, because I've shown examples of my really good and bad mini Rex, my really good and bad silver fox, my really good and bad Rex. And it also brings up like the question of like, what should I show that's good or bad? Because there are sometimes when I have a rabbit that has really great fur but a shitty body, or a really shitty body and great fur. Unless I show Strawberry for the millionth time. Y'all know Strawberry is Strawberry. He's good with everything, and I feel like y'all are gonna get sick of seeing that boy because he's just always there. But for instance, Sadie. Sadie is a low rufous caster. Technically, she shouldn't be shown. She has kind of meh fur type, but her type in general is outstanding, and she also has that beautiful dwarf style head. So there's definitely some pros and cons to this little doe. My little lynx here, Lulu. She's an all-around okay animal. Her fur is magnificent. Her head's a little off balance, her ears are a little too long in comparison to her skull in general. And she has an amazing high point in rear, but she's a little longer in the shoulder than Strawberry. Not like detrimentally so, but enough to where it is noticeable. This little girl right here, I love how tall she is in her high point in comparison to her width. Her head has a nice balance between ears and head, although she doesn't have the classic dwarf skull. But her high point is a little too far forward, and she has a really great shoulder. Again, an okay rabbit with some pros and cons. I don't know if I've actually complained about Penguin or not. Penguin is my outcross when it comes to my mini Rex. She's 5 pounds. But I use her every once in a while if I'm worried about a double dwarf gene. She also throws some really gorgeous kits. If y'all have seen Blueberry, you know. Daisy's also out of her as well. Miss Chunk Butt Perfection himself, I can also complain about though that he is slightly overweight. We're 2 ounces overweight now instead of 4, so that's some success there. And to be honest, I would like for him to have slightly smaller ears because he always makes me nervous with them. Because in theory, he is right on the line of them being too long, and he could get DQ'd for them if they were even slightly longer. Which is why I'm really excited to breed him to Sadie. I want to keep his body and have her head, and there we go. It's like Frankenstein with baby bunnies. And the thing is that's not even all of my mini Rex. I have more. And that's not my Rex or my silver fox. So there's a crap ton that I can nitpick, which is also why I'm kind of doing the rabbits in my barn series, both with my show rabbits and culls, to kind of sit down and pick out the things I really like and don't.